So we just went into a mine, murdered a troll, and got a crappy talisman. Well, I'm sure it's not crappy for some people. It's crappy for us. We are going to level up. We're going to go to level 27. We're going to upgrade our vigor. And then we're going to go through our inventory, sell a bunch of crap. And then we are going to use the resources that we plundered from Mother Earth, or Mother Lands Between, and use that to start upgrading our gear. So we're going to upgrade our Morning Star to +2, and we're going to upgrade our Lordsworn Greatsword to +3, which is the limit of how good we can upgrade things to this anvil here. We'll have to unlock another area to do any further upgrades to that weapon. So what's going to be next up on the docket here is we didn't have enough material to upgrade our Morning Star to +3. So we're going to go and, it's pretty much a repeat of what we just did there. We're going to find another mine, which you can find the cave marked on the map. This one's in the Weeping Peninsula. And we're going to head there, and we're going to get some more upgrade materials to upgrade our weaponry. So we're going to warp to the south of the Lookout Tower Site of Grace, and we're going to start looping around this little bit of a mountain here. First moving west, then to the south, heading towards this next mine. There are a fair amount of random, just demi-human guys around here. I'm not really going to engage them at this point. I'm just going to blow by these as well as the giant flowers that are coming up. Going to keep running around on Torrent until we eventually get to where we can see the opening to the mine. It's called Morne Tunnel, and same as the other mine, where we're going to, instead of taking the elevator down, we're going to try dropping down the little ledges alongside of it, because there are smithing stones to be had here. If you're not confident in the jumping on any of these elevators, by the way, you can take the elevator down the first time, grab the Site of Grace at the bottom, and then ride back up and jump down. That way you just start up with the Site of Grace instead of having to do the run back. But yeah, once I'm down at the bottom, I tap that Site of Grace and take a rest. So we're going to start sneaking forward here. Now this particular mine is full of the misbegotten guys we saw earlier in the Weeping Peninsula. They're a common sight here in the Weeping Peninsula. And especially taking a prominent role in Castle Morne later on. But you can kind of do, lock-on tricks to kind of see ones further away here. Just so you can see them before you, well, some of them are lying down on the job and it'll kind of highlight them to use lock on. But there's nothing too crazy about them. For the most part, you can guard counter them or just jump attack them and knock them out of the air. There are a couple of them where there's groups that are going to be a little bit easier to take out from afar. But for the most part, it's going to be running through here and just attacking these guys as much as we can, isolating them one at a time. Also, the same as the other mines, there's going to be miners working on the rocks on the walls here. Attack them and take the smithing stones off the walls. They're going to be, at least at this point in the game, it's useful to get as many smithing stones as you can. Later on, we'll have essentially an unlimited amount. But for now, it's handy to pick up all these onesie-twosie smithing stones. There is a larger, more dangerous group of misbegotten down below. So from the vantage point up here on this little walkway, catwalky sort of thing, I just hurl some fire pots down to take them out before I get down to that particular area. Making life easier for future self. So it's unclear to me exactly what the misbegotten are. They're kind of like, they fit into this like outcast role, kind of the same as the demi-humans. They're clearly intelligent. I mean, the smith in the Round Table Keep we'll get to later is one of them. And Mikola kind of accepts them into his fold. But it's like they have this like weird evolutionary tree thing going on where, crucible-y sort of thing potentially, where some of them have wings, some of them don't, some of them have features of lions, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Probably ties into the Crucible in some sort of lore video or something. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I just like to think about the superficial things and not get too deep into all the details, but interesting visually. There's something about the creepy wide almost grinning mouths. It's a little bit Attack on Titan or something. The miners are another one where I don't know exactly how they fit in with all the lore of the world. You know, clearly not human. You know, probably related to the gravity people, maybe? That'd be my best guess, where they have kind of like the stonish sort of exterior, same as them. You can bounce off them, kind of hard like rock. I don't know. Is there actually any lore related to the miner people? I'm trying to think if I've actually seen a lore video directly related to them or not. I don't think I have. Unless they're like actually in like some gravity magic onyx lord sort of rundown video. But yeah, it's just kind of slowly working my way deeper and deeper into the mine here. It's pretty uninteresting for the most part, to be honest with you. These mines, unfortunately, to a certain extent, they're almost a necessity for me in like my early like run-throughs of the game. They're not the most interesting dungeons in the world, but you know, they're useful from that perspective of getting smithing stones. Especially if you're like this character and it's like, I've got multiple weapons, I've got a shield, I've got a seal. It'd take a lot of smithing stones to upgrade those things. And that's not even like trying out different weapons. That's just the baseline sort of like, I don't know, luggage stuff I'm kind of carrying around here. So in like almost every zone of the game, every new map area, I'll look for those little caves on the map. Those are all almost all mines. I don't know if they're all mines, but for the most part they're mines, and it's just useful to go to almost all of them. I do love having the arrows sticking out of me, by the way. They're ridiculously huge. It's hilarious. I'm just gonna start making sure we got every last single one of the smithing stones out of this area, just going into every last little nook and cranny, trying to get them all. I feel like I usually probably miss one or two, but as long as you get most of them, it's going to be good enough. At least to get you through until the point where you get unlimited smithing stones. Eventually we'll find our way towards a little hut. This is like the same little set piece that had dogs in it in the earlier mine. This one just got a miner in it. It does have some goodies in it, but they're just, you know, they're mostly just going to be things we sell here, I think. I don't think, aside from smithing stones, I really don't think there's anything that interesting in this particular mine. Just a boss fight and goodies to sell is essentially all we're going to be getting out of here. There was that exalted flesh in there. I should probably use that more often. I don't use consumables a ton, or at least consumables that you can't infinitely recreate. That exalted flesh one, I forget if it's bonus damage or damage resistance. It's one of those things. I think it's just kind of, I don't know if you can actually make it or if it's just a find. Like I said, if something's kind of like a limited resource, I tend to not use it. I always get that, I need to save it for the perfect rainy day. And then I get to the end of the day and I have a pile of the things. Yeah, so tend to not use those very much. But now just running around trying to desperately find my way back to wherever the boss store is here. It's down one of the side hallways off the main room. And I always get turned around in these places. But eventually we'll squirrel our way around and find the right passageway to get us to him. And it's the same as the other mine where it's like a set of big wooden doors leading up to him. It also seems like a common place for them to hide things is, you know, turning around backwards from where the boss store is. So there's that somber smithing stone hiding over there. But, you know, Usual sort of thing, same as the last mine. We're going to drink our physic flask, open up the big old doors here, and then summon our spirit wolf buddies as soon as we get in there. And this particular boss is called a Scaly Misbegotten. They're actually going to be regular enemies a little later on in the game. They're essentially just harder hitting versions of the regular Misbegotten. But they, being humanoid, they are vulnerable to Stamp Upwards Cut, knocking them down and throwing them up in the air and all that. So it's, you know, at this point it's kind of almost pretty standard. Just hit him with that heavy stance hitting Stamp Upwards Cut a couple times and then we can crit him. He's going to drop a weapon, the Rusted Anchor. I feel like it's almost a meme-y sort of thing where I see a lot of people using it online. I think it hits really hard. It does like pierce damage, which is, you know, one of the least resisted types of damage. I think that's its selling point, but aside from that, I don't think it does anything too special. And now just warping back to that smithing stable at the Church of Ella. Gonna upgrade the Morning Star using some of the smithing stones we got there, and take a little nap and figure out what to do next. We did get enough in there to level up in addition to upgrading our gear, so gonna level up to 28, this time going with Endurance, bringing that up to level 17 to match Vigor. And what's next on the docket is we are going to visit our good old friend Patches, who, if you're unlike me and you played the other Dark Souls games, he is a recurring character from those. I only know him from watching streamers run into him. I never actually played those. But he sells something that makes the Margit fight very, very easy, so we're going to head in that direction. So we're going to run along the lake here, and similarly to when we were running to the mine that had the troll at the end of it, we're going to try and avoid, there's kind of a central portion of the lake that's got a bunch of sacrifices tied up to stakes. We're going to avoid that because we don't want to bring down the overworld boss who rules this little lake just yet. So we're going to follow the little map marker I set down and head to the entrance to this little channel heading under this bridge here. There's going to be some skeleton guys that drop down on us. Nothing to worry about. We're just going to run by them. The trouble comes up in about a second or two after we make it under that bridge. So we'll run by the little Skelly Bros, and we will get kicked off of Torrent in a little bit here. And what that is signifying is an NPC invasion. I think this is the first one we've had in this run through. And this guy sucks. He usually kills me on the first try. There's going to be a guy who shows up here, and then there's going to be someone who shows up to help us against him. And so this guy, Bloody Finger Nereus, he does a lot of bleed damage, which essentially just knocks off huge chunks of your health bar if he hits you enough times. So he can kill you pretty easily. So as I see him running up here in the distance, I drink from my physic flask just to, you know, give ourselves that little like extra oomph when we're hitting him. And I feel like he normally dodges this, but I actually get some lucky hits off with Stamp Upwards Cut here. I don't know if my timing's getting better where I'm waiting until he... Oh, you can see the Bloody Finger guys coming to help us. If you're having trouble with this fight, run back to where this Bloody Finger is and let him hold aggro, and you can, you know, throw fire pots or whatever at this guy. But his AI seems dumb this time. He's just letting me wail on him with Stamp Upwards Cut. Normally he's a lot dodgier than this, and he ends up killing me. I lucked out here and was able to kill him on the first try. That's a rarity. He drops a really cool knife, Reduvia. If you have enough arcane, it does a lot of bleed buildup. I used to do a little bit of arcane because Reduvia is good, and there is the... there's a Dragon Communion spell that does a lot of Scarlet Rot buildup that's good that needs some arcane too, I think. But I kind of stopped... not planning on using them at the moment, let's put it that way. So there's a cave right near here called Murkwater Cave. That's where we're going to go in. We're going to tag the Set Grace there, and that's where we're going to meet Patches. So there are a lot of little bandit guys here. Now, as you sneak through here, there are going to be little trip wires on the ground that they're kind of hard to see the first time you come through. They're like these little chains with bells. If you walk through them, it's going to summon a bunch of guys from the other room. It's not worth fighting them. They don't drop anything really good. And if they gang up on you, they can kill you. So I just avoid them by this point, and I head down the hallway to the right, which is the way down to Patches. And I edited out the burp there. I really needed to burp. Sorry about that, if you could tell by the tone of my voice. So crawling down here, we've got the abnormal fog gate. We're going to go through it, and there's nothing on the other side. Shocking, crazy. This is wild. There's no boss. So I drink my physic flask, open up the chest, and take, I steal some pants, as one does. Then Patch is going to hop down, and he is a little bit of a pushover for the most part. You really don't have to hit him that many times, and eventually he'll just yield. I find it better to be aggressive in this fight. I did have to heal there a little bit, but if you sit back, he's kind of I don't know, he does these breath attacks and stuff like that. Just go gonzo on him and attack him, and when he says he's going to surrender, let him surrender, and then you will be able to come and buy stuff from a store. So we're going to talk to him a little bit. We're going to basically tell him we accept his surrender and all that good stuff. And then we have to do some dumb video game-isms to progress his little plot here. So if we say forgive and forget, he's going to tell us he's going to set up a store if we come back next time. So you can either run back to the site of grace, sleep, come back, all the people will have respawned, or you can quit out to the menu and restart up your game. There's a lot of this in Elden Ring, and it's kind of dumb. I don't like it. It's kind of immersion breaking to have to do these reloads of an area. So you do that, and he's got his store set up and ready. Can talk to him a little bit, but the key thing we want to buy here from him is he's got a goodie called Margit's Shackle. In Margit's Shackle, you can essentially freeze Margit the Fell twice in phase 1 of his fight. Basically incapacitate him for a little while, and you can beat him down. Basically get a lot of blood loss build up on him while he's down, and that makes beating him, it essentially nullifies the first phase of that fight, is really what it's doing. So I don't have enough to buy it, so I'm kind of going through my gear here, selling a bunch of stuff so that I have just enough to buy that precious little Margit's Shackle. It also has some other uses aside from the Margit fight, which I'll mention as well when we get to that point. The other thing he has that's kind of worth buying if you remember to is he does sell a lot of gold pickled fowl feet, and those are they will give you more runes back than they cost to buy from him if you actually buy them and use them at the end of a boss fight to give you bonus runes. So now I'm kind of thinking about what I want to do next. Eventually I settle on teleporting back to Stormhill and doing a few things in that area here. I'm kind of playing this through a little off the hook as I'm doing this, so I don't have a checklist that I'm running through. It's more like, what should I do next? And whatever hops to my mind next, I'm kind of going to go and do. So up in the Stormhill area, there is another one of the sarcophagi graveyards that I missed. I'm just going to go run through there, pick that stuff up while I'm in the neighborhood. And then near that, there's going to be a supply of smithing stones guarded by a giant pack of trolls. And there is this kind of mechanic that you'll run into in a few different locations in the game. And that is that there are these statues that you can see are half broken, and there is a glowing object inside of them. So going to kind of introduce you to that here if you've never seen it before. And what they are is they are unbreakable by you, and you need a big old monster to break them. So Gonna head over to that area and get one of these troll guys to break a statue for us. So I'm heading generally in the direction to where there are, there's just a ton of trolls here. It's kind of a fun fight if you feel like taking them all down. You can do it. It's not that bad. Again, if you isolate them one-on-one, really not that bad. But see, I'm going to have that guy pick aggro on him. He's going to run through that statue, break it, and then I'm picking up a bunch of smithing stone 1s and a smithing stone 2. And then I'm running away because I don't feel like fighting them today. Always pick up mushrooms when you see them, by the way. Always mushrooms. Good for fire pots. Well, always mushrooms if you're using fire pots. Let me rephrase that. Seems like there's lots of easy places to get the smoldering butterflies. Less so to get the fire pots anyways. So I'm riding to the north here, and there's a couple of Kaiden sellswords up here. Always murder them to try and steal their cool hats. General rule of thumb for life in this game, steal the cool hats when you see them. So I'm going to try and take these guys out from horseback. You see the wonderful, glorious burst of light, and you pick it up, and it's just their sword, and you get a sad. But his buddy's next to him, and we'll try taking him out as well. So usual drill for these guys, fighting them from horseback. Second burst of light, and we got his pants and helmet. And I'm going to put that helmet on right away because I really kind of like the Viking look that has with the chainmail shirt that I'm wearing right now. Sorry, chain armor / hauberk. It's not a shirt. This isn't a burnie. It's a full-on, full-length hauberk sort of thing going on. And I have no idea how to pronounce it actually, but hopefully that's close enough. So there's another Site of Grace and an NPC up here. This Site of Grace, if you rest at it at night, there's a very hard night boss who shows up where that NPC is. I'm not going to mess around with him right now. There's nothing I need from that night boss at the moment that's worth it. That's another guy I come back when I'm way over leveled, or I can cheese him in some way, shape, or form, which I am not able to do at this particular moment. So, kind of free form running to the north here. I'm going to generally start heading eventually in a more easterly direction from here. As I head up here, I get kicked off Torrent again, and this is another NPC invasion. So I drink my physic flask, and we see this Recusant Henricus running at us. He hits hard, we hit harder. This is where having the hyper armor from Stamp Upward Cut really helps out. Even though he hits us, it is able to kind of carry through and hit him. We're kind of able to trade with him on these hits to be able to take him down pretty easily. And that's... I've talked in a couple of fights where it's like you can use Stamp Upwards Cut or you can use charged heavy attacks. The advantage of Stamp Upwards Cut is you can kind of trade through almost anything. There are certain things like if a troll kicks you, it's going to break your poise with that. But for almost anything else, any sort of like attack from a human or anything, you can just poise your way through it and hit the guy without getting interrupted if you're using Stamp Upwards Cut. So continuing onwards in this kind of generally easterly-ish direction, southeast, but eventually going to be kind of heading to the east. And we're going to go fight, I think, one last boss out in that direction. There's an overland boss we're going to go take out. And that'll probably be where we wrap this episode. But first, we got a little ways to go before we get to them. So there is a camp here full of a bunch of guys. And doggies. And a knight. So, just take them out any way you can. But yeah, none of the loot in that camp is particularly exciting. It's just all stuff to sell. So once we get through there, I mean, there are mushrooms though. Mushrooms and smoldering butterflies. Always get those. But as we're continuing to the east through a gully, eventually we'll hear the greatest hero in American history talking to us. I never buy like video game gear or merch or anything like that. I have a statue of this guy on my desk that my kids got me. So, you know he's someone special. So there's a site of grace, gonna rest at that, and then we're gonna head up a little ramp over to the right to go up this cliff. And if we keep going up this way, eventually we will see someone half buried in the muck, and it is a giant living pot. Alexander, the living jar pot warrior guy. He's amazing. He's the best. The Iron Fist is a legend. His quest is long and wonderful and has, we'll just call it a bittersweet ending. It's the ending that Alexander wants, and you get a great reward, and, you know, you get to inspire his family onto great things. That's all I'll say for now. Do Alexander a solid. Help him get out. Get this quest started. It is worth it in the long run.
Aye, and beyond thee, upon their southern edge, is Redmayne Kide, heard wisp doesn't the notion. I'm heading to Redmayne.
You know, I wonder if that's going to be Nick Offerman. I kind of hope Nick Offerman is Alexander. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's not that much else interesting up here on this particular cliff. So I do see a glowing skull. It's like smoldering butterflies and mushrooms. Always get the golden skulls and get those golden runes inside. Just, you know, just always. And I'm going to eventually head back down the little ramp here. And we're going to cross a bridge continuing to the east. After resting at the site of grace again, if I seem like I'm resting at sites of grace a lot, by the way, it's because they're just useful editing cuts for me. I don't actually need to rest. I just stop recording and I can put in an editing cut or something like that. So going to continue going across this little bridge to the east, take down a Pumpkinhead. We know how to deal with them. And pick up the goodies along the bridge. And as soon as we get over the bridge to the right, there is going to be a merchant. I think he has some smithing stones. He has a cookbook. Maybe like does he have a pot? We'll find out together when we open up his inventory here and we see what he has to offer us. Yes, he has a cracked pot. So the cracked pot is worth getting. The smithing stones are worth getting. I think the Nomadic Warriors cookbook he has there, I want to say it has the stamina regen recipe in it, which is good. You'll note I start leaving here, then I have a little bit of remorse from like, you know what, I should buy some more smithing stones. So I go back and head to him and pick up the smithing stones just in case I need to upgrade some stuff a little bit more. But once we get all those out of his inventory, we're going to continue going to the east to a cursed village of sorts. We'll find a site of grace on the way that we'll take a nap at until morning. And then if we keep heading down the road in this kind of general, you know, easterly direction? Wait, I'm heading west. Why am I heading west? Am I going backwards here? Oh, it's because I blew by the NPC. That's what it is. So I went to that site of grace, and I went right by this guy, D. D's an interesting character. His quest is alright. But yeah, he's going to warn us about a village up ahead. And in that village, we are going to take down the last little boss here before we call it a day on this episode. So we'll run down here, and it is our first encounter with a Tibia Mariner. Dude in a boat, summons undead, runs away. There really isn't anything too difficult about this guy. If you summon your wolves, the wolves will kind of distract the ads a little bit, hopefully, if they stay where you want them to stay. But essentially you can just kite around this guy on Torrent, and that's pretty much it. You can use the heavy attacks from horseback. If he looks like he's going up in the air, run away because he does a big AoE. Let's see, have we run into undead guys yet? I don't know that we have. So when the undead guys are down on the ground, the first time you kill them, they drop down and they start glowing. They will rise up from the dead unless you hit them again while they're down. You don't need a special damage type or anything. You just need to hit them while they're kind of glowing and resurrecting, and that kind of kills them for good. Wicked for good, kind of. I have daughters, so that's why that came out of me right then. But, I don't know. Don't you guys? I didn't actually watch it. I know they went to the movies to see it. They like it. They sing the songs. So we're going to keep going after the Tibia Mariner here. I don't know. It's not a particularly exciting fight, but, you know, we'll just run around, sweeping around him till he's dead. And if you're wondering what the deal is with these undead summoning boatmen, there's this weird kind of connection with water, with the undead in this game. There is, in a subterranean area where there is no water, there is a dead guy who's turning into a mermaid. And he's turning into a mermaid because a witch half-suicided herself into a doll. And if that doesn't make sense now, don't worry, it'll still not make sense later, but visually it's kind of cool. But after a ton of running away, eventually we'll catch up to this guy. I hate bosses that run away in Elden Ring, by the way. One of my pet peeves is cowardly bosses. But eventually we'll catch up to him and kill him. He'll drop some summons that aren't particularly useful, but he'll drop a death root, which is kind of a whole sub-questy sort of thing, secondary plot line to go find those. And eventually you can introduce yourself to the coolest boss in like the entire base game. One of the coolest. I don't know if I have a coolest boss, but he is one of the forms of one of the coolest bosses in the game. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup after this. There's a couple of rune graveyards pretty close to here where I'm just going to go run through those, pick up the golden runes out of the sarcophagi. The second one also has a cookbook that has the recipe, I think, for sleeping pots in it, which are really good against certain bosses later in the game. But aside from that, it's, you know, it's running around throughout the environment. So, you know, feel free to continue watching that. I'm going to kind of wrap up the voiceover work here. And, you know, just leave you to enjoy the natural splendor of running around and grave robbing in the lands between. But for those of you who are enjoying this, thanks for coming along and listening. Hope this is helpful to people starting out in the game, or, you know, just giving you something to listen to in the background while you're at work, or just, you know, doing something else. Someday I will say like and subscribe smoothly. It's like a tongue twister to me. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And comment too. I'm supposed to ask you to comment. That's what I'm supposed to ask you to do too. If you have comments, comment away. But yeah, thanks. Bye.